Call the Board of Adjustment meeting for September 8th, 2021 to order. Could we please have a roll call vote?
Owen Curley,
Present.
Alexi Gonzalez, John Marlin, Francis Reddington,
Here.
Jeff Trular, Dan Molly.
Present.
I'd like to have a motion for the acceptance of the minutes from August 17th, 2021.
Move to accept the minutes of August 17th, 2021.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Aye. I've got to make an announcement to everybody so they understand what's going on. We only have 3 board members here tonight. Barely a quorum. Now, it only takes one no vote to get your variance turned down. So that you understand it. You have the option to reschedule your variance. But remember that if one no vote and the variance is turned down. Okay, does everybody understand that? Okay, so if you want to change it, the date, I hope you could do it now. Otherwise, we'll go on to the first case.
Okay, board calls case number BOA 21-100119. Applicant owner Scott and Lisa Sandstrom. Property address 1171 3rd Avenue North. Motion to consider a variance from Land Development Code sections 34-336E1C2 for a side yard setback of 5 feet in lieu of 10 feet minimum to allow for the construction of a covered sidewalk walkway to an existing single-family home.
Could we have the owner or the applicant, the owner or the agent come forward, tell us why you need this variance? Be sworn in.
If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And if you could both please state your name and address into the microphone.
Scott Sandstrom, 1171 3rd Avenue North, Jacksonville Beach, Florida, 32250.
Lisa Sandstrom, 1171 3rd Avenue North, Jacksonville Beach, Florida, 32250.
Okay. Can you explain why you need this variance?
This is to help us with egress to and from the house. Also, we have no way of getting into the garage, which is where our laundry is kept. Our washer and dryer is in the garage, and so we have to be able to get from the house to the garage back and forth without getting soaking wet.
Kristen, this is just for a side yard setback. There's no lot coverage.
Correct, yeah, they're at or below the minimum lot coverage requirements.
And there was an existing variance that was granted before for the side yard, is that correct?
No, there's not an existing variance, but there is an existing walkway, and part of it is currently covered. They'll actually be removing some of that and then adding some further back.
Basically, there's no hardship.
Our hardship would be our lot size. In lieu of a $10,000 lot, we've only got like 7,800 square feet. The hardship to us is basically, it's the only way for us to get to and from our laundry room,
Hardship
leaving
is
the
the
house.
lot size.
The lot
It's not-
size is
it's not
smaller
because
than
it's
the
main
average.
house, right? I just so you know, it's
Okay.
your lot size. Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
I do. Have you talked to your neighbors about this zoning or variance request?
Yes.
And what did they say?
Nobody has,
Nobody said anything.
or had a hard time with it.
Okay. And Luke Rudd.
What is her grievance?
Have you seen it?
It's extensive. I guess you're required to read it into the record and then they're allowed to respond.
It's already a part of the record.
Yeah, because it was submitted already.
Basically, if you want, you can read it. It's very expensive. We'll give you a minute.
Okay. Do you want us to step back? Or?
No, we can stay.
Yeah, please take your time.
I assume that they did not submit a letter to speak.
No.
If I can address this from a personal matter, we have, every New Year's Eve, we would have a bonfire and burn the Christmas trees. Do it out at the end of the driveway in a burn barrel and that sort of thing. This last particular year, ashes got on her car and she lost it. And she made an insurance claim against us,
We
against
took
our
care of
homeowners
it, we
for
did everything we were supposed to do.
$14,500. And
Matters.
I've talked to several people that have lived through California forest fires and stuff like that, and they've never had an issue with ashes damaging the paint job of their car. Nothing that couldn't have been buffed out. We tried to address the situation with her, but in all honesty, I think because of COVID, I think she's lost it.
I guess she's suggesting some alternatives through the gutters and other approaches that might not damage her fence. If you vote,
There's nothing that would be close to damaging her fence whatsoever. I mean, it would be 5 feet away, the covered walkway would be 5 feet away from her fence.
Where does she live in reference to your house?
She's
Next
our next
door.
door neighbor to the west of us.
To the west of us. The side of the house that would be concerned to her is where she stores her garbage cans. You know, there's no, it's like a piece of her backyard that doesn't get any attention.
I'm just curious, are you taking up the brick walkway for some reason? Did I read that?
There is a walkway there. We will take that up and put down a new one that suits better. And
It's a paper walkway that we put down ourselves, and we want to have it professionally done so that it looks nice. We just had improvements done to our home. We had our side and a roof done and paint. So this was the other piece of our puzzle where we just wanted to improve what was there. The existing porch is leading into our house and the water is draining to the foundation. So we wanted to remedy that so that it would quit draining water to the house and causing potential issues in the future. We're fully invested. We've lived in our home for 24 years, and we took out we refinanced our home so that we could make these improvements and keep our house nice. It's the little porch that's there. It's fine. It just probably needs to be taken out and made better so that it's not draining water. And when we started doing the improvements, it came to you have to apply for permission to do this. And we're like, oh, okay, because we didn't know.
Is that your note, the 1% overhang? Do you know what that is, Christian? To the left?
Christian and I spoke on this, and he helped me submit everything.
I don't know his handwriting that is, but I was curious.
You're referring to the proposed site plan?
Sorry.
You're referring to the proposed site plan? It has a note.
This sketch here?
Yeah. That was from the applicant. That's not my handwriting.
So we don't know what that is. Because it's a 4 foot up. Here, I'll show you.
I'm sorry, we don't have this. We have so much going on with our home right now. So, from
What's that?
I don't know what that one is.
But it's a full 4 or 5.
For maybe it's a 1 foot overhang, like a 12-inch overhang. So the porch is there, it's like,
maybe.
that things off the house as I need to. The one that's originally there, if I may, is from here to here. Okay, we just want to bring it a little bit, make it a little bit longer down the side of the house so that we can get out of our car and get out of the coverage. And a little bit wider, like a foot, it's like a foot wider or so. That's all we're talking about. It's not huge.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Any further questions?
No further questions.
Thank you. The public part of this meeting is now closed. We have no cards for this, right?
No cards.
You see. Bring it before the board.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll second.
Sorry. I'll make a motion to approve BOA 21-00100119. I guess abides by the conditions required under statute. I guess it's one. Here. There we go. That's the 9. So,
Section
conditions do
24.
not result from the actions of the applicant. No, you're in the wrong line.
You're reading off of this.
Okay. DO 119, based on the standards for variance as outlined in sections 34-286 of the Land Development Code.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do we have a roll call vote, please?
Owen Crowley,
Yes.
Dan O'Malley,
Yes.
Francis Reddington,
Your variance has been approved. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
have the next case on.
Okay.
Sorry. Board calls BOA 21-100120. Thank you. There it is. Applicant owners Sean and Angela Budd, property address 3116 St. John Boulevard. Motion to consider a variance from Land Development Code sections 34-337E1C3 for a rear yard setback of 14 feet in lieu of 30 feet minimum, 17 feet previously approved, and 34-337E1E for 49.8% lot coverage in lieu of 35% maximum. 48.1 previously approved, to allow for construction of a new rear addition and covered patio to an existing single-family dwelling.
Have the owner or applicant please come forward, be sworn in.
please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And please state your name and address for the record.
Angela Budd, 3116 St. John's Boulevard, Jacksonville Beach, Region 5.
Could you tell us why you need the variance?
Yes, we were already here in May and got an approval, a variance, for the 14 feet, or I'm sorry, 17 feet. And then we hired an architect after we came to the variance, and he basically told us that it wasn't big enough to do what we wanted to do. It would make the bedroom size way too small. So we are applying for the additional 3 feet
How long have you owned this house?
since 2012.
2005?
12,
12?
so 9 years.
You know, there's another variance that you're over received on the property, right?
Before the one in
2000
May?
years Before you owned it.
Oh, okay. I think it must have been the original because it was built already bigger than what it should have been. Which I believe all the houses on our street are the same.
So you have a substandard lot then?
Correct. It's 6,000 feet where it should be 7,500.
for the applicant?
The rear setback is, says 14 on the sketch, 17 on the application, if I'm reading that right? Is that right?
So 17 feet is what was previously approved, and 14 is what we're asking for now.
Oh,
Here's two.
I do have one question. There was since your variance request of May 2021, you haven't constructed anything there, right?
No.
And I may have asked you this when you were here in May, so I apologize, I can't remember. There was a prior variance request that was approved to build something similar to what you're looking at doing now. Was that ever constructed?
Before the one in May?
Yeah, no, before, there was actually one prior to that, back in November 22nd, 2000.
So that was for the original house build.
Oh, that was the
house
original house
in
build.
2001.
I'm sorry, I was confused. Okay, the May one was for the addition in the back. No, I'm sorry, I don't have any further questions.
did you, echoing Owen's question, did you speak to your neighbor, particularly to the west?
Yes, absolutely, and all of our neighbors are completely supportive. I know they all sent in a bunch of letters in support for our first variance.
Oh.
I'm not sure if they did again, but we spoke to everyone around us and everyone was completely supportive.
Unfortunately, there's no letters.
Okay, for this one,
Should
sorry.
have
Everybody-
looked up.
everybody-
We didn't make them do it all over again, so.
Any other questions for the applicant?
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. You can be seated. Close the public part of the meeting and bring people to the board.
Got the conditions to exist to the variance.
And one thought might have this is for the variance we have asked for, but otherwise it's still under 50%. So,
That's right.
so I'll give you a motion.
I make a motion to approve BOA 21-100120 based on the standards for variances outlined in section 34-286 of the Land Development Code.
Have a roll call?
Okay.
Second.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote, please.
Owen Curley,
Yes.
Dan O'Malley,
Yes.
Francis Redding.
Your variance has been approved. Thank you. Now, what do we have in this case?
Board calls BOA 21-10012, applicant Jack Wayne Young, property address 612 Holly Drive. Motion to consider a variance from Land Development Code sections 34-336E1C1 for a front yard setback of 21 feet in lieu of 25 feet minimum. 34-336E1C2 for a corner side yard setback of 13 feet in lieu of 14 feet minimum. 34-336E1C3 for a rear yard setback of 5 feet in lieu of 30 feet minimum. And 34-336E1E for a lot coverage of 46% in lieu of 35% maximum to rectify existing nonconformities and allow for construction of a new addition and attached garage to an existing single-family home.
The applicant or owner, please come forward this morning.
Good evening, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your name and address for the record.
Jack Wayne Young, 612 Holly Drive, Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Tell us the reason for the variance, sir.
This house was built about 80 years ago. I don't even know if there was any kind of
Can you speak in the microphone?
So this house was built in 1941. I bought the house in 2012 as is. Trying to bring it into compliance as best as can be. The lot is less than the minimum standard, which is 10,000 square feet. This lot is 6,970 square feet. The intention is to tear down an existing non-detached concrete block garage that was built incorrectly. They can't even put a car or a garage or even a golf cart into it because of the height on it, and then to move that up and attach it to the house. The way the house is set in the yard is kind of strange. It's a really weird layout with the corner. It doesn't match the circumference of the road. It's set back in considerably. So the house was built a long time ago, and I'd like to upgrade it and make the garage where I can actually get into it. And then I'd like to do some stuff in the backyard as well. Just make it a nicer house and comply more with what it could be. There's no way I can change the square footage of the lot, so that's about it. It's trying to conform as best as I can and build an attached garage as I get old. I'm even considering putting another story to it so I can put a personal elevator on there so my legs that are getting tired can get up to my bedroom where I hope to be able to sit up on the porch and watch the fire trucks go by.
So you're going to raise, you're going to have a 2-story instead of a single story, is that what you're saying?
I'm talking to the architect about the feasibility of it. First thing was to get the variance so we could attach the garage was the main thing. Now, whether the architect says it's viable, then it would entail me tearing down my bedroom, and which used to be apparently a screened-in porch, and then build it a 2-story, which I used to be a state certified residential contractor, and I'm looking at the foundation on it and thinking if I do that, I'm going to have to tear that down. I don't have a whole lot of trust in the way that the house was built in the first place. It was a Sears and Roebuck kit house, and somebody used to work for B.B. McCormick Construction. I think it's probably one of the first houses that was probably built over there, and they built that, and then they added on a screened-in porch. And when I started trying to renovate the inside of it with this new drywall and things of that sort, and looked at the framing that was in there, it wasn't too sporty. So anyway, that's my ultimate plan, but attaching the garage, right now where I can use the garage as a garage is one of the big things. And then I have a grandson on the way, and I'd like to, let the family have a pool in the back and things of that sort. So
Who is the easement in favor of? It looks like your new garage is sitting right on. Is that just a utility easement or an underground easement?
Nothing there. There's no utilities or anything. Existing garage was put right on there, and then the house next door to me is a tear down. I think it was recently sold, and somebody built the other add-on to that one right on the property line rather than the 5-foot setback. So the backyard is actually what I thought was a side yard. The way the house is facing Holly Drive. And then realistically, I guess it could have been either a 6th Avenue address or a Holly Drive address. I've added on a
front
porch.
door, or whoever put the front door on Holly, so I'm confused, Christian, because technically the backyard, there is no backyard. It's sitting on the easement, which may be titled to this gentleman's name or not. Who owns that easement?
So the easement would be to the city for the possibility of utilities. It was most likely platted when the subdivision was platted. Technically, he wouldn't be able to build on the easement. Not that there are utilities there, but we reserve the right for future development if necessary. What he's showing is being up to the 5-foot easement, but 5 feet off the property line, so he wouldn't be structurally built on the easement. The yard determination, in essence, the way the house was constructed, The front setback is more substantial than the side setback. So the front of the house facing, I guess, Holly, has the larger of the two setbacks. So it was constructed in a way that for all the setbacks to actually work, that is the front of the house. Either way, it still needs relief depending on how you slice it, so it doesn't conform on either side.
That easement is part of their lot, correct?
Correct, it is part of the property.
Yeah. Okay, you do know that if you want to put a second story, you're going to have to come before this board again, so do you know?
I did not know that.
Is that not true?
I mean, as long as they're below the 35-foot height limitation, and they wouldn't be expanding the footprint in any way that would trip any of the yard requirements, there wouldn't be anything they would need a variance from. They can go to 2 stories.
So when he applies for the permit, then you'll know if he needs a variance, correct?
He wouldn't need a variance, just go to a second story.
If it overhangs or anything, it doesn't make any difference.
Well, if he designs it in such a way that it does, then it would have to, but if he stays out of the setbacks or is limited to what you guys approve or don't approve tonight, he would need to come back.
Okay. Any further questions for the gentleman?
No further questions.
Thank you. You can be seated.
Thank you.
The public, we have any cards for this?
We do not have any questions.
Okay, I'll close the public part of this meeting and bring it before the board.
Well, I guess for all intents and purposes, the yard to the south is really his backyard, although technically, I don't know if that's the case, so I don't know.
When the house is on the corner, they can pick each other address they want.
It's not the front door dictating it anymore?
Correct, Kristen?
Right, yeah, there's no requirement that the front door be the front yard.
Is that unusual to a corner lot or any house?
Only a corner lot because they would have the option of being on the street.
Okay.
Well, makes a motion to approve BOA 21-100121 based on the standards for variance outlined in sections 34-286 of the Land Development Code.
Second.
Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Daniel Molly,
Yes?
Owen Crowley,
Yes.
Francis Reddington.
Variance has been approved, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we please have the next case read? I'm sorry.
Board calls BOA 21-100124. Applicant Adam Eisman, JWB Companies. Property address 06 Avenue South, Lot 8. Motion to consider a variance from the Land Development Code 34-338E1C1 for a front yard setback of 14 feet in lieu of 20 feet minimum. 34-338E1C2 for combined side yards of 10 feet in lieu of 15 feet minimum. 34-338E1C3 for a rear setback of 10 feet in lieu of 30 feet minimum, and 34-338E1E for lot coverage of 50% in lieu of 35% maximum for the construction of a single-family dwelling.
Hi, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do,
And
thank
please
you.
state your name and address for the record.
My name is Zach Miller. I live at 3203 Old Barn Court. I represent JWB Companies and their subsidiary B-Cell 10B. I actually handed an agent authorization because I was not the person who originally filed the application.
Speaking to the microphone.
I apologize. This property, I handed out 2 short handouts. This is a lot of record that is only approximately a little bit more than 2,900 square feet. Actually, growing up in Jacksonville Beach, I've often wondered about this sort of platted area, and I pulled the plat from 1911. And as you can see on the first map, the plat that was created was so that 6th Avenue South does not parallel 6th Avenue or 5th Avenue South. This creates a little bit of a pinch right where our property is, which is why the property is only 2,900 square feet. This jog actually creates a situation where the property is only between 63 feet deep and 53 feet deep. If we were to abide by the setback requirements, we would have a house that is only 5 feet deep to 15 feet deep. That would be our hardship. Also, the lot of record standards for the 50-foot width and for the lot coverage would qualify under the City of Jacksonville Beach Land Development Code for an increase in lot coverage requirements. In simplest terms, the house would not be livable, and we probably couldn't get a building permit if we had to comply with the current Land Development Code regulations. Looking at the properties in the area, and I've driven by, and I've also gone to the property appraiser's website to try to find as much information as I can. Most of the properties in this area are closer to the street than the 20-foot setback required by the Land Development Code, and almost all the properties on this block of 6th Avenue South, at least up until, I think Cross Street is, it's also 5th, it are over 50% lot coverage. And as you go to the east,
Excuse me.
sorry.
Can you tell us which ones are over 50% lot coverage?
The ones immediately, actually on the next page, the house immediately at 659, 639, and 623 and 621 are all above 50% lot coverage. And just to be clear, the reason for that is lot coverage in the City of Jacksonville Beach Land Development Code does not include the actual building. It includes the actual building and all impervious surface. So if you include the driveways and all the paths, they're at 50%. And as you go further to the east, the lots actually get larger because the jog gets less and you get closer to being more lined up with 5th Avenue. So the lot coverage decreases. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have.
You know that this board, and I've been on this board for quite a long time, we've never approved the variance of 50%.
Understood.
Okay, so I don't know anything about what you said about these other lots being over 50%. Okay, so unless anybody on this board knows about that.
May I ask a question to Mr. Popley? I think you might be able to explain why that might be the case, that you never had variance.
I don't care.
Okay, Mr. Popley, is the Land Development Code allow for lots of record to increase above the lot coverage requirements as long as they meet the setback requirements at the time?
No.
Then what is this the lot size?
I'm not sure what you're asking exactly.
I think there's a provision in the Land Development Code that allows for you do not comply with the lot size if you're a lot of record.
The lot's considered buildable, but you would still have to get relief from the dimensional standards. Right.
Yes, but not the lot coverage.
The lot coverage is under the requirements for dimensional standards, so.
Can you live with under 50% lot coverage?
Looking at our site plan, again, because lot coverage includes the impervious surface, we're right at 49%.
Well, 49 is 50.
Sure.
No, it isn't.
No,
We're
we're actually technically looking at it, we're at 49.5.
Is that correct, Kristen?
According to the site plan that was submitted, they have total impervious surface at 50%.
I've got a building plan that might have rounded up. We are at 49.5% for a total. Yes, it was 42.9% for the actual building footprint, and then 6.2%, I believe, for the actual for the air conditioning pad, the driveway strips. We've actually done part impervious, part pervious for the driveway strips.
Is there a garage at the end of those strips?
Yes, and that's sort of the jog that you see that sort of sticks out a little bit.
I'm assuming this is a 3-story.
No, I think it should be just 2-story.
Okay. You're saying that it's not 50%, it's 49?
It's 49.5, correct.
Okay, so if we change this from 50 to 49.5, we're going to have to, you'll accept that, right?
Yes.
So, oh, I see. So you have 2-foot strips separated by 7 feet each. Is that right? Seeing that?
7 feet seems a little extreme. It's very similar. Actually, I think 2 doors down, there's a driveway that's very similar. In fact, you might be able to see it on the second page of the map. No, it's covered by the trees. Also,
I'm sorry, I'm looking at this.
may I approach?
Yep, please. 7.
2 foot strips and then 3.
What's the 7? Oh, 7 feet.
7 is the total for each. Okay.
Through the chair, the wheel strip minimum requirement is 18 inches per strip, 7 feet edge to edge, so they're compliant with that.
But I'm just saying, if you had to find a little more real estate, I'd have 18-inch strips,
Understood.
unless you're driving a huge truck.
One other point I forgot to mention, this is on the second page of the handout I gave. We back up to a slightly unimproved alleyway that's platted. That has to do with our rear yard setback. We're actually, that unplatted, or that platted unimproved alleyway is anywhere from 10 to 12 feet. So we're actually set back further from that
Yeah.
property line. Then that also goes to the hardship for the rear yard setback.
Any questions for the applicant? We have one card, okay, you can be seated.
Zach Miller?
That's me.
Oh, I'm sorry, you did that.
Sorry.
He approved his own. Now, there was one in here from a,
There was a letter of support from the person who owns the house, I think 2 doors
I
down.
think Tiffany Holmes, supported the variance. Probably read it.
It's part of the record. It's in this
For the record. She's for it, correct?
Yes.
Right.
I don't know, it's part of the record. It was in my application package.
It's the last thing.
So we assume you don't want to rebut that.
I do not.
There it is, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Questions, public part of the meeting is closed. Bring it before the board.
It's a tough lot.
It is a tough lot, but, you know, you agreed to 49, got the 5% lot coverage, which is under 50%, which I have no problem with at all. Does anybody have a problem with that?
I do not.
Okay.
Well, all right. Want me to make a motion, you want to make a motion?
I can do
Go
that.
ahead, we'll go back.
I make a motion to approve BOA, get the work number right. 21-100124 for front yard setback of 14 feet in lieu of 20 feet minimum. For combined side yards of 10 feet in lieu of 15 feet minimum. A rear yard setback of 10 feet in lieu of 30 feet minimum. And lot coverage in the amount of 49.5% for construction of a new single-family dwelling.
Yeah, second.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote, please.
Dan O'Malley,
Yes.
Owen Crowley,
Yes.
Francis Reddington.
Yes, thank you. Variance has been approved as written.
So I got a question. So when you say it's a 10-foot setback in the rear, it's really, he's got that patio back there. It's really a 4-foot setback, or is that just? It seems when I've asked for variances, they, as in the past, they picked the shortest distance, and although it's only a small patio, technically, they said that you're asking for 4-foot setback.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So the patio is considered an accessory use, and so because it's not a covered portion, it has a different setback requirement. Technically, it's 5 feet, but it can intrude up to 2 feet into the side yard if necessary. Same thing for like walkways.
I guess I didn't understand it was not a problem.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Next case.
Board calls BOA 21-100125, applicant Eric Griggs. Property address 134 First Street South. Motion to consider a variance from Land Development Code sections 34-338 E1 C1 for a front yard setback of 9.6 feet in lieu of 20 feet minimum. 34-338E1C2 for a corner side yard of 0 feet in lieu of 10 feet minimum, and a side yard, and a total side yard of 5 feet in lieu of 15 feet required. 34-338E1C3 for a rear yard setback of 5 feet in lieu of 30 feet minimum, and 34-338E1E for lot coverage of 80% in lieu of 35% maximum in the CBD zoning district using the RS3 standard to allow for the construction of a new single-family dwelling.
Through the chair, if I can make one correction, the request for setback for the front yard should actually read 1.4 feet, not 9.6.
1.4.
1.4.
So,
There is a cantilever balcony on the second floor and third floor that extends closer. Yeah, that dotted line right there is the balcony.
So we should read for a front yard setback of 1.4 feet, not 9.16, correct?
Correct. And we did send out new notices and correct the advertisement as well.
so, Chris, let me ask you a question. If you were, even though it's elevated, cantilevered over, technically you could then cover that in until the glass didn't fiber.
Correct, yeah.
Are we sworn in?
No, sir. If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I
And please state your name and address for the record.
do. Eric Graves, 932 First Street North, Jack's Beach.
Is that the reason for your variance?
Yes, I'm attempting to, it's a 2,925 square foot lot, non-conforming lot. I'm attempting to replace a 100-year-old triplex that has no on-site parking or underground electric with a single-family 3-story home in a central business district. So the current envelope, I think, of the home that's existing is approximately 34 by 67, which is essentially what I was asking for, what I'm asking for. And I'm just basically, I was going to put a duplex on it that within the central business district would have 0 lot lines on the front and the sides. But to do that, I would have to have 4 parking spaces on site. And then I think there's also a question about building on the first floor because of the elevation and the flood map. So I'm essentially doing a single family home, attempting under the duplex rules of the central business district.
Christian, using the RS3 standards, what's the lot coverage for your RS3?
It's your typical 35%. It's an odd situation because the central business district allows virtually covering the entire lot for any other use but single family. For whatever reason, we apply the RS3 standards here. And in this case,
It's in that zone where you can do whatever you want to do, correct?
in essence, except for single
You can
family.
do whatever you want. Well,
Coincidentally, the picture you have is that you used, at least in my attachment, I guess this is across the street.
I included that as an example where they have covered the lot up.
Yeah, that's a strange structure that, I don't know. Well, I wasn't on board.
That's not what I planned. That's not what I planned to do. No, I included a picture of something that I haven't drawn it up yet because I don't know the footprint, but I included a picture of what the look would be cantilever balcony primarily is going to be, I'm going to attempt to put all the living space on the 3rd floor. And so that would be the balcony that would primarily edge out to, closer to the property line. But on the 1st floor, there's 10-foot 8 proposed, and currently I think there's 5'3".
I guess fine, go ahead.
Okay, I'll tell you right now, I got a problem with that 1.4 front lot cover. Sorry.
It's not gonna lot of. It's an unusual rule, Christian, in my mind. For instance, you cantilever over, but there was dirt underneath it. In my mind, the surface would be pervious, but they counted against your lot coverage, although it's not.
Yeah,
But it allows him to do that if he cares to do it. He could.
right, it treats it as lot coverage in our code, but other cities don't. It's just how ours was written, but.
But if we were to grant it, he could certainly bring it to the ground.
Correct.
No, I got a problem with that.
Well, I take that back because there is a vision corner that he has to maintain because it's a corner lot. So he couldn't bring it fully to the ground in the entirety of the footprint. He'd have to have that
The
cut
north
off.
end of it, though, I think the site triangle, they could get away with it on the north end. It looks like, well, anyway, that's.
Okay. Any further questions for the gentleman?
I could,
Okay. we have
Yeah,
the
I
floor,
could.
please.
I
Thank you,
could,
may be seated.
pardon?
Can't hear you.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt you. I was just going to say that if you have an issue with what's being drawn there, I could go back to my architect and builder and try to figure something else out. If I could continue.
It's up to you. You can withdraw your application. Okay. If we turn it down, you're going to have to wait, a year and pay another fee. So if you want to withdraw that, correct?
He could withdraw it or he could request a deferral if you guys wish to grant one.
Here.
Yeah,
I can't make that decision for you. You have to make it yourself.
yeah, I'll defer it and try to work with it.
Do we need to vote on that?
Probably best to
Okay.
grant the deferral.
Okay, all those in,
We have 2 cards. Do we care to hear from them now or
I don't, well,
Not if we're deferring, I
no,
guess.
deferring it.
If,
Okay, so,
if
I would, I'll make the motion. I'll move to defer case number BOA 21-100125 to,
The next meeting would be September 21st. The following would be, I believe, October 5th.
defer it to a future meeting.
Because this is an advertised public hearing, it needs to be specific to a date so anyone who's attending can know when the next hearing will be. So it would either be the next meeting or the one following that, or
I wouldn't be able to do, I'm leaving the country on the 21st, so I would have to go.
then I would recommend, I believe it's October 5th is the next
And
meeting.
you'll be back by October.
I'll be back by October 13th.
The options are October 5th or October 19th, and then November 2nd.
okay,
So the 19th?
October 19th. Defer till October 19th.
we have a roll call vote on that?
Second that,
Yeah.
Okay.
vote affirmatively.
Everybody in favor say aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Okay. Yes, that's it.
John, since you retired, back in the saddle.
I want to thank everybody tonight. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
help. And thanks Sergeant Brown
You guys
for being here tonight. And, the next meeting is on September 21st, and we have 5 scheduled cases. And hopefully we'll have everybody there. Have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good night.